Trade policy can play an important role in reducing the possible harmful effects of trade on labor rights. Many trade agreements, particularly more recent ones, have begun to introduce labor-related provisions. While the breadth and depth of the labor provisions vary a lot between different agreements, the main idea is that a country should not subordinate its labor protections for the goal of trade and investment promotion. They also often provide a platform for cooperation and technical assistance regarding labor rights and protection. A violation of these provisions might lead to a suspension of trade preferences or other trade policy actions. It is also in the interest of developed countries to prevent developing countries from getting undue advantage in exports by weakening the labor standards. However, developing countries sometimes have a concern that their trade partners might use their inability to comply with some standards as a disguised trade barrier. A delicate balance between labor protection and trade promotion along with a reasonable transition period is thus needed to accommodate the needs of developing countries. Here are some examples of trade agreements that contain labor-related conditions. Some unilateral preferential trade arrangements, such as the EU's GSP Plus arrangement, require their beneficiaries to comply with a certain set of international labor and human rights standards in order to maintain beneficiary status. Some bilateral free trade agreements, such as the EU-Vietnam FTA, also require each party to ratify the ILO Fundamental Conventions. Moreover, in the case of the CPTPP agreement, even non-parties to the agreement will also be affected by its provisions since Article 19.6 of that agreement calls for its parties to ban imports of goods produced using child labor. The US-Cambodia bilateral textiles agreement is another case study, which we will discuss in detail in the next slide. In 1999, the US signed an agreement with Cambodia to extend preferential market access for textile products. The US's import quota under this agreement is subject to increase if Cambodia can maintain satisfactory labor standards. The ILO helps monitor Cambodia's compliance and provides technical assistance through its Better Factories program. Since that agreement was signed, labor standards in Cambodia have improved significantly. This figure shows the number of strikes and lockouts as well as the number of participating workers. These numbers reflect the freedom of association and the right to collective bargaining. The numbers increased dramatically around the year when the US agreement went into force. The success of this agreement shows the effectiveness of a positive incentive in a trade agreement in promoting labor protection.